Okay, is everybody fine? And I had to leave my group 1 or 2 minutes before they finalized their talks, and I have to say goodbye to you very, very fast, because we were in the middle of a very good discussion, which I would have prolonged a little longer. So, and maybe it's like on the other side with all of you, that you are maybe into discussing and all that stuff that happened before. So I think one of my tasks is now to bring you in something of my stuff and give you an orientation what it is all about. It is merely only about bull-eye transactions in organizations. So once you think about what you know about bull-eye transaction as Eric Berne defined them, what they are, it is a simultaneous intervention on the 3 ego state levels at the same time, and meaningful. And when you think about that in an organization, you have to think, oh, well, I don't think in ego states anymore. I think in the system level of the whole organization, and I think in the group level or departmental level, and in individuals. So if you make something like a bull-eye transaction in organizations, you say something that is meaningful at the same time on these 3 levels. So that means everybody is a part of a group, of a team. A management board is not really a team sometimes, but it is at least something that gives them a boundary around, maybe. And so if you say something that makes sense for him, it has to be meaningful for him on that level. But when I say on the group level, I mean it more specific, not only individual, but role-related. So the higher you get in hierarchy, the less people think in the individual processes. They have it, but most of that, what they do, must be role-conform. And even their role helps them to live out something of their emotions. If they are good ones, they do it in a good way with role conformity. So a bull-eye transaction has to be at the same time meaningful on that role level. So this is what it is about. And I like a lot the way Trudy introduced what your piece you said to me, and I love that since years with you. So this is my state of my discussion with Günther and with some others, in which we are inventing TA for organizations. So we are not ready. I think, Günther, we could say that we are not yet ready, not at all. So it isn't finished. Not finished. Thank you. We are ready for doing that. You mean that? Thank you. But we are not finished. Thank you. Okay, quite a difference. Thank you. Thank you for that. Okay. And my question, how to end up with that, will be: are organizations good? And just take 3 seconds, because you have your answer. And this is your transference process. You carry with you all the time. And once you say no, everything will be different, what you do, in what role ever.
Neither yes nor no.
Pardon?
Neither yes nor no.
Neither yes nor no. Yes. Thank you. Okay, and now a little story begins with my presentation, because I think in organizations, when I just said it in the other group this morning, when I write a business offer, I'm writing a story. They want to believe it, what comes in future. So this is all about story now. But first, I would love to confront you a little bit with my thesis. And this is what I would love to discuss with you. So, organizational intervention should always include role aspects. So if it does not, whatever you do in organization, this is not an organizational intervention. It is helpful, it is good, and do it, but it's not organizational TA. It is the transference of whatever you do into organizations. That's also good. But it is not an organizational intervention if it is not role related. And I have a sense of what is organizational consciousness, which means for me to understand something of the nature of this specific organization and how we are, how we decide. And then when you talk about organizational consciousness, you can describe this very good in Günther's models of attention and so on. It is very helpful to think about where the focus shifts in them and what they look at and what they do not look at. So for us as practitioners, I think the effects of given structures and roles are often unknown, not discussed, not diagnosed in our practice. So when you want to do organizational work, you must diagnose the effects of given structures. So I analyze exactly what the structure is. I've never seen an org chart that is okay. It's always different as they wrote it down. And then you have to understand the processes. Okay, this one is longer, so maybe a little hard stuff, but try to read it. So this is about our pure contribution to effectiveness.
What do you mean by process quality in this?
How you build a car. This is a process quality.
How you build
a car. A business. I mean a business process. I mean lack of business process. And a business process, by definition, is the way organizations produce something. And then you have to understand what of the business process starts in this department, goes on in the other department, and come back to the first department. So, and then you understand how things are going on. And if we as coaches or trainers work on an individual level, and we don't have a tool or something, whatever you might call it, to assess the business quality of the leader you are a coach to, you are not as effective as you can be. Because then you bring in your individual competence for interventions on a group level, individual level, unconscious level, whatever you do, but you don't link it to the business process.
What's your understanding of effectiveness?
Reduction of costs.
So
reduction of costs.
So you try to do it in this.
I'm a little provocative right now. I allow myself not to say something which is more accepted. In the end, reduction of costs, or a better discussion, or better decisions, or better quality, or better feeling in cooperation. This is effectiveness.
What is a better decision?
Can you say it again? Say it again, please.
Stop this question.
Shall I react to that or just go on?
We discuss this at 5.
Okay. Okay. Thank you. Thank you. That's it. Okay. So the last thing is also for me very important in the quality of our work. That if you do something that heats up it for a while, we were so close together at that workshop. And when I asked them what could you transfer into practice, well, I didn't think of. So then the workshop has nothing to do with the transfer of results into practice, and so no sustainability of anything. But it was a good event. And I know a lot of methods to work with the groups the last 2 hours, that even my work was not that good before, but in the end I bring them to a good assessment of my work. I know a lot of trainers who know exactly how to do it. But for me, it is always relevant that things are transferred into practice, into processes. This is my quality expectation. Okay, how to do that? So this is the assumption of what I said so far. And this is another assumption of what I said before. So on 3 levels simultaneously. You can decide not to do that simultaneously, and that's okay, because then you have an idea of a stair in your mind. I do this first, and if this works, I have a stable step, and then I can do the second thing. Of course, contact comes before contracting or whatever, or before intervention. And if you need first a personal contact on a personal, emotional level to a leader, of course you have to establish that first. But then you have to go on to roles, and then you have to go on to processes, and so on. So this is basically organizational transactional analysis. So you have individuals, so you have functional organizational elements, which I will describe a little later. For example, the strategy of a company is a functional element. Or the approach to the market, that's a functional element. Or the way the company produces something is a functional element. This has nothing to do with departments. Sometimes functional elements are split between 2 departments, and people wonder about a lack of efficiency. And then I put business processes in the middle. So how can we become effective there? And then I make this distinction between TA in organizations, which is really relevant. We all have to do this. We must be good on that. This is our way to contact an organization over the individuals. But as an organizational TA, in an organizational TA thinking, this is only the entrance door. For me, individuals are only the entrance door. Useful, and I love them, and I go with them, and I help them, not at all, but behind is a system. So the difference Günther and I made was qualification of the personnel and qualification of the system on the one hand side. This is a model which is used in Germany also by others. Wolf Balling and others are making this, and I think, Bernard, I do not know if it's also coming from you. Yeah, thank you. So this is what we adapted.
And we also have a concept that is called PASO. On the one side, it defines the company's functioning, and from that, the task and the role.
Yeah.
From the other side, the personality, from her background, and how the person can function within the role. And
okay.
We have what you...
Will you? I'm maybe skipping the whole setting, but will you just draw it?
No, I have many of these concepts. Watch the tape.
Watch the tape.
Thomas, what is qualification of the system? Give an example.
Yeah. When we listen to Günther Schmidt, the way they make decisions. Do you remember him yesterday?
Yeah.
So, how they do this? This is a quality level of an organization, because it is a clear set of structures, a clear set of steps in which people do something to come to a joint decision. To implement something like this is the qualification of a system. Or another qualification of the system is if you have quality problems in production of a car, which one do you decide to become relevant? Who is resolving these deficits? And who is implementing the new ways to produce it again on a worker level? And this process, a learning process, a learning cycle, what you said this morning about first single loop, I mean, that's exactly which is referring to your model, single loop, double loop, process loop, I don't know how you call these 3 things, from Agilis, I think it is. Yeah. So when an organization implements single loop learning, double loop learning, and process learning, then this is a qualification of the system over individuals.
You mean the quality of the system?
I think so. I think the word qualification is the wrong word.
No, it's not. It's not. It is our. No, we can discuss it, of course. I mean, I'm just putting my definition of it. To be clear on that first, the qualification is for me a process and a result.
Keith Richard said about himself and Ronnie Wood We are both as single persons, we are lousy at the guitar, but together we are world class.
So how does that make?
That's a qualification of the system. If they come together.
So,
There's something about the translation.
yeah, so
co-create, okay.
Rosemary, when you are grabbing the word qualification, in my understanding of this word in German English, maybe, qualification is a process in German English, and qualification is a status. I'm qualified for. I have the qualification of a TSDA. This is a status. I hopefully hold.
I think in English we tend to use the word just with individuals and accreditation. So it's a strange word for us.
So it's new, it's a word creation. I think
or adjustment, the word adjustment.
It's a new word, system qualification.
It's the same word, but it's a new way of understanding.
Yeah, it was, when we invented it 15 years ago. I didn't know that it has a problem in being translated in English.
I think it's one of the reasons why there is a lack of understanding sometimes. It's a lost in translation.
I had to understand it first. For me, this is also a bridging word to bring personal development people in company, to give them a role allowance to do OD.
Let me. Can I give a short metaphor to explain it? We work with the theater metaphor to explain it. The personal qualification is everybody. Each actor knows to play his roles well. But the system qualification is they know how the play should be, and the processes are qualified that everything fits into each other. Then even a not very good qualified actor can play very good because he or she understands the play from the context. The play tells him how to behave, and it's not only a personal qualification to know how to behave.
Okay, but in the way I meant it, it is a process. I meant the process, qualification of the personnel and qualification of the processes of an organization, which include also learning processes.
Couldn't we just say individual learning and systems learning?
Why not?
The same?
Why not? Maybe Jutta, I'm in self-definition, Jutta, I'm maybe a little bit, maybe I'm a little bit behind the word organization, so that's maybe my thing.
I think the metaphor that Bernd just gave us...
Can you say it louder?
I think the metaphor that we just heard about the theatre is really good.
Yeah.
And I just don't think we have an English word that says that. I'm kind of striving to find one, because I think it's a really good concept. So...
And it's an allowance.
Yeah.
It's an allowance also for leaders and for OD staff in the thing to do qualification with the whole company. And it's good and it's important for contracting as an intern.
Just idea for the word maturing. I know maturing models of organizations that can maybe help us. So you are about the maturing of the organization.
Okay, and if
so system qualification, if sometimes if the play doesn't work, everybody goes into actor schooling and train more to be a good actor. This is one concept only with looking at personal qualification. But even if people do not understand very well how the play goes and their role, if you do together, you try to play unless the play evolves wrong, you're playing together. This is a qualification of the system, which has a side effect on a personal qualification.
I mean, it's a great metaphor of the play. I think the thing with organizations is that they are long-term, whereas actors in a play are already selected specifically for the role, whereas sometimes as consultant we go into an organization where the actors, if we can use a metaphor, don't fit anymore.
The play has changed.
The play has changed, and and I think that's the most challenging.
And organizations are so flexible to perform with not that good actors. So organizations are built for
performing with not good actors. Yeah,
yes,
absolutely.
This is what they are built for.
Yeah.
Understand? This is my opinion on the reason why organizations are so successful in mankind's history. Okay, and now to speak about our system and how we think about our roles. So, as I asked you, can you freely say yes to an organization? And I could also ask you now, can you, to one of these roles, can you freely say yes? Say, okay, I'm a facilitator, I am a trainer, I am.
Thomas, one more question.
Yes.
When you say process facilitator, process negotiator, is this only meant the business processes, or is it also meant, for example, which kind of communication processes or decision processes do we establish?
For me, it is all about negotiation. So for me, a whole group workshop is a negotiation. Is a negotiation about the legitimate system and about the hidden system. For example, I always think in negotiations. So there is a theory of the radikale Marktwirtschaft, Günther. What's the translation? Radical business. They say in German, wer handelt, der handelt. How can we translate this?
The one who is bargaining is the one who is acting.
Okay, yeah, thank you. So if you have this in mind, that everything is a negotiation process of futures and of realities, and to come back to your question, the starting point of being a process negotiators are the invention of new learning processes. In the single loop, double learn, and as Helen pointed out. And this is a meta process, how to perform a business process. So if you do this, I'm meaning, and this is including both. But it means that I sometimes dare to invent new business processes. Because I say, you have problems from the way you are doing that, you can make that easier or more effective, also on an emotional level. So I'm thinking in both directions.
Just to understand you right, as I know business processes describe roles and not individuals. You try to separate the function from the person. You just say which skills you have to be here. And now we...
No, this is the second step. I just invent a role as it should be, based on a function. I'm sometimes inventing new functions.
Could you give an example of that?
Yes, I mean just of my actual practice. It is a little company that's working with lead. Yeah, lead. So against radiation and all that stuff. And they had companies. They had 3 companies inside a company, so profit centers. And they have 1 production process, or let's say 2.5. And at the interfaces between these processes, they were struggling for benefits on an indirect level while negotiating the amounts of hours needed to produce a container. And the level of lower leaders completely distracted from the business calculation process and did what they want. So everybody was wondering that production times were not kept, that calculations were never in the end as it was in the beginning, and everything was. So they had 2 systems.
With no link between them.
And then I was inventing new processes and invented new roles.
The roles that would link both together.
Yes.
For example?
I invented a group that I call 3+1, just not to use any given word, consisting of the 3 sellers and the 2 people who are responsible for the production. And they have to integrate completely the intaking process of new orders, and they become responsible for the whole row of production and all the conflicts they have to integrate.
This feels to me like business process re-engineering.
Yes, I do it.
Business process re-engineering. That feels like the ideology of it. And what I'm trying to understand is where's the TA in it, because it feels very processy, very...
And so, TA is, it depends on what TA you mean. For what I see in it, that I manage it, that they understand, that they take the responsibility for the process of their workers. And very often, at the end of business process re-engineering, so you have a description of processes, but you have no new roles. And you sometimes have it, and you sometimes have job descriptions. If the company is well led, then you have all that. But from my German experiences, people start after making the process calculation, the process cost calculation, and then the rest is done by the personnel, but with no integration into leadership responsibility. So I integrate all these processes to one solution of all aspects, the personnel, how they are, how they accept the whole thing, how they work with it, how they learn with it, how they facilitate a good style of confrontation. And so this is what the leaders then integrate.
Can I say something?
It depends.
I thank you very much for your presentation, but I really feel a need now to go into your provocative question with the group.
You mean just stop at this point?
Just go with your question to the group so that we can just like grasp what you want to say.
I mean, if you think this is enough, no, I'm fine with just stopping.
You try it.
What's the question?
What's your question?
Our organisation
good?
I feel like I'm missing out.
No, discuss this. This is good.
I mean, I allowed you to discuss, so this is the time invested there. So that is fine for me, but it is now 1/3 of my presentation I did not get. So
now we know what we didn't get.
Pardon?
Now we know what we didn't get.
Yes. And this is the question.